Heather Hodges was born on August 15, 1989, in Rocky Mount, Virginia. She was close with her family, which consisted of her mother Paula and sister Crystal. Those who knew her described Heather as a bubbly person, but someone who could hold her own if push came to shove. In her younger years, she attended school to become a pharmacy technician, but later switched to studying criminal justice. However, at some point in her life, she was introduced to drugs and started using. In 2008, Heather was found guilty of felony grand larceny, which resulted in a 3-year sentence, with all but 6 months suspended. Eventually, Heather would get a job waitressing. Come 2012, Heather was raising her 2-year-old child. She was unemployed at the time, given she had received an inheritance in the past, which gave her more flexibility to spend time with her child. By all accounts, she was a dedicated parent who wouldn't have abandoned her child. At this point, Heather was in a relationship with a man called Paul R. Jordan, or Scooter to those who knew him. The pair lived at a property on Shady Lane in Rocky Mount. The relationship between the two was both abusive and controlling, and they regularly suffered problems. In fact, just a few days before she went missing, Hodges' mother had filed a misdemeanor assault charge against Jordan, saying he had struck her with a chair and other objects during an argument before chasing her out of the property with a baseball bat. As a result, he was charged with misdemeanor assault. At approximately 6:30 a.m. on April the 9th, Crystal Hodges dropped Heather off at her residence after Heather had spent a few nights with her family. She and Paul were having problems at the time. The two sisters had planned to meet up again later in the day. However, Paul would tell Crystal when she called that Heather was asleep. Later that night, at approximately 10:30 p.m, Paul claims he left the residence to get a snack at the nearby Dairy Queen restaurant. When he returned, Heather was gone. She had left behind her car, cell phone and purse. On April the 11th, Paul officially reported Heather as missing. The reason for the delay was due to the fact that she had left the home in the past, but she'd never been out of touch with her loved ones and always remained in the local area. She had done neither in this instance. Upon being notified of Heather's disappearance, investigators interviewed both family and friends. Crystal stated that her sister was a dedicated mother who wouldn't have taken off without notifying anyone. Despite maintaining his innocence, Paul refused to take a polygraph test. A massive search was immediately launched both on land and of the nearby Blackwater River. Various resources were utilised, which included a helicopter from the Virginia State Police Department and search teams from the Franklin County's Department of Safety, which included cadaver dogs. All searches turned up no evidence. In June 2012, investigators executed a search warrant to search the property Heather shared with Paul. Investigators discovered evidence that something violent had occurred in the home. However, despite this, the case would go cold for almost another 5 years. During this period, the family did everything it could to raise awareness about the case, including holding a fundraiser to help raise money for a reward. In June 2013, almost 1 year since the search of the property, the Franklin County Sheriff announced the case had become a criminal investigation. In April 2016, a site was unveiled honouring Heather along the Blackwater River, where she loved to fish and kayak. The land for the site was donated by a private property owner and is near where Heather went missing. In 2017, investigators received a break in the case. Jordan was arrested in an unrelated incident. He pleaded guilty to abduction by force or intimidation in June 2018 and received a 10-year sentence. The news of his indictment was welcomed by the Hodges family, who insisted charges were long overdue. Since that time, the investigation has continued, yielding significant additional evidence of Jordan's involvement in Heather's disappearance and death. Over the years, investigators were always adamant that the case remained active. Heather's disappearance has always been an active investigation and has never been considered a cold case, the sheriff's statement added. Although much information and evidence was gathered, unfortunately, no criminal charges were able to be made related to the case. In April 2019, the Aware Foundation erected 4 billboards around Roanoke, Virginia, which featured Heather's image and the words "Never Lose Hope." Funded by a private donation, these billboards, which were situated on Route 419, Route 220 and Old Cave Spring Road, marked the 7th anniversary of the missing woman's disappearance. Sadly, on November the 9th, 2019, Heather and Crystal's mother Paula passed away without ever knowing what happened to her daughter. Deputies say after interviews with Hodges' friends, family, neighbours and others, Jordan was identified as the primary person of interest in the disappearance, and investigators spent several years gathering evidence against him. Due to the active nature of the investigation, police are unable to say too much about the case. However, in April 2022, a decade since Heather disappeared, Jordan was indicted on charges of second-degree murder and concealing a body in Hodges' case. Authorities have not released much information about the evidence against him, but have stated Hodges' body has not been found. Jordan is currently being held at Green Rock Correctional Centre. According to online state jail records, he had previously been expected to be released in February 2025.